Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews. And today we're checking out the new releases from Babymetal, Obliviscaris, August Burns Red, and of Sulfur. So pretty big day for metal. Four pretty giant releases today. Just gonna get right into it. I started my day off with Babymetal. The album is called The Other One. We did a couple reactions for songs off this album. Thought the songs were pretty good on our reactions. Listening to this album, I'm kind of mixed feeling. I think instrumentally, this album is awesome. There's a lot of really good riffs, some really good drumming. There's a couple cool solos. There's even some saxophone in the last song, which I thought was kind of cool during the bridge.
Chalk another one up for the saxophone. We've been noticing a lot lately.
Exactly, but I mean, it's always welcome as long as it's not overdone, and it wasn't here, so that's good. Vocally, though, I feel like this album falls short. That might be a me thing because I'm not the biggest fan of this band. I feel like the vocal styling doesn't quite match the music that's behind it, and there's a weird kind of odd contrast happening there all the time that I struggle with. So it might be a me thing, but there's certain parts of the vocals where I was like really questioning like the pitch and the tone and stuff like that. It wasn't horrible through the whole thing. I just wish it wasn't something that was kind of staining the music for me, because musically I was really into it. I thought it was really cool. So a couple songs that I liked was track number 6, Believing. I thought the band sounded great there. The next song, actually 3 songs in a row, 6, 7, and 8. So Believing, Metalism, and Monochrome all were great. Metalism was cool because it has a cool kind of dubstep vibe, but it also has this Middle Eastern kind of element mixed in. Really unique, really cool. Definitely a standout track. And the song right after that, Monochrome, has some really nice double bass in the intro, which I thought was a highlight. And super catchy song. On Spotify, it had the most plays out of any other song on the album, which I thought just makes sense because it's super catchy. So there was stuff there that I was really liking, but most of that credit goes towards the musicians for me. They are definitely a highlight of this band, and part of me kind of wishes that they had a more like metal vocalist in front of them to kind of complete their sound. But that's just me. The girls, they do the fine job. They're doing what they do. Aside from all that, one small criticism, the mix sounded kind of weird because I felt like all the choruses were louder than the rest of the thing. I kept feeling like every time a chorus came on, the volume just ramped up and I had to like turn it down a little bit. Maybe not every time, but there was a few songs that were like that. So overall, not horrible, but it was a little bit less than my expectations for me.
I do see what you're talking about when it comes to the band compared to the vocalist, but keep in mind that kind of creates a unique sound. You know, no one really sounds like that, and I think that does at least make something that is just not typical.
True.
But, this band I never really listened to much before this album, and based on what I heard, my understanding of their sound was that they were more kind of energetic, kind of happier kind of sound with their music, so I like that. This subverted my expectation. It was more of a serious kind of, maybe almost even somber approach, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought Metal Kingdom was a cool opener. It's got a really nice build. I felt like it did that really well. But then there's a song like Mirror Mirror, which it has great ideas in it, but it kind of feels like they stitched together ideas from different songs into one. So it kind of feels like we're jumping to a bunch of different stuff going on throughout the song, and I'm not sure how much I really enjoyed that, but the ideas on their own are great ideas. I like that quite a bit. Metalism is funny. At first, I'm just like, I don't know what to think of this song, and then as I was listening, it was growing on me. I think the guitar work on that song is great. Really, really nice, and I think that really, really brought that song home for me. There was Believing. Funny enough, this is not the album I started with today. This was the second album I listened to today. The first one was ABR. But when I listened to Believing, I thought to myself, did they just take this from the ABR album? Like, it was sounding like ABR to me, so I thought that was pretty funny. But overall, I thought there were some cool riffs, and I found with this album that there were some songs I would have preferred as singles over the ones that they chose. I think a song like, Believing, would have been a better song instead of Light and Darkness. you know, or maybe even better than Divine Attack as a single, because I feel like that gives you more of an idea of the range of this album. You listen to the 3 singles that dropped and you kind of get one idea of what the album's going to sound like. Then the album comes out and then all these other tracks don't really sound anything like those. They kind of have a different spin on them. So I feel like if you really want a better range as to how to showcase your album before it's released, songs like that would have been a good idea to choose.
That's fair. So, on to Ne Obliviscaris. Exul was the next one I listened to. So, again, we reacted to 2 videos, liked them both. That was Grawl and Equus. Liked both the songs. My concern going into this was that all the songs were going to just sound like basics, the same kind of nail kind of stuff we always hear, right? And I feel like I was right. I feel like that's basically what you're getting here. There's not much different, but it's still really good sounding. Like, these guys are top musicians. They're really great composers, great songwriters. So you're going to get top quality stuff when you listen to this band all the time. It's almost to a fault in a way. Maybe I'm gonna nitpick a little bit, but the violin, hearing it constantly does get a little bit tiring sometimes. And that sucks, because that's the draw of this band. The fact that they have that violin so prominently in their lineup. It's not just an added thing on songs here and there. It's like a main focus all the time. It does start to feel a little tiring after a while. Not that it's bad, but it just is what it is. So, couple songs I like, by the way. There's only 6 tracks on the album. It's 52 minutes long, and the last track is close to 4 minutes long, and it's just an interlude, right? The last track's just an instrumental interlude, and it's just, kind of a waste of space in my opinion. But even without that, you're still left with a pretty solid length of an album, but at only 5 songs. So it tells you how long the songs are. There's a, what do you call it? Like a Misericord 1 and Misericord 2. So 2 tracks, the same title basically. The first one is subtitled As the Flesh Falls, and then the second one is Anatomy of Quiescence. Now the second one I liked a lot more. I felt like it had certain parts that took some inspiration from old school psychedelic rock from the 70s. And I was listening going, wow, this really sounds psychedelic. Like, that's really cool. And I also really like this dichotomy that the songs have, where they have this cool contrast of this heavy, mean-sounding rhythm section, but then it's carrying this soft, elegant, melodic flow, right? And they really drive that home in this song. It's kind of a staple of this band as well. The next song, Suspire, had a really cool groove section at around 6:50 mark, but it only lasted a couple bars. I was like, oh no, give me more of that. That was awesome. But I mean, I feel like one thing you say about any song, you can pretty much apply to any other song on this album. The structures are all really good. They take you on an adventure. They're emotional sounding. They have a lot of weight to them, passion. They have a real visceral feel to them, and I really like that about this band. So I thought, pretty good album overall.
Yeah, I guess I'm in a bit of a similar boat, because when starting this album today, I thought to myself, like, is every song going to kind of be the same thing? Which is, like, kind of the case, but not really. Not to a fault. I was worried about it being to a fault where I'm like, okay, this song just sounds like the other one. That didn't happen for me. One thing I do like is that Equus starts with no big build-up. It just kind of gets straight to the action. I like that to start an album like this, because this band's known to have all these big things going on. So it's cool that they kind of got straight to the point immediately to kind of get you roped in. The drum and bass focus part that happens at around the 4.5 minute mark of that song is really cool. And I also like the layering of harsh vocals on top of violin. I think that's like really nice, because you see that a lot with harsh vocals and clean vocals. But harsh vocals and violin, that's cool, like a combination together. It's really interesting that you prefer Misericord 2 over 1, because I'm actually the inverse. I thought the rhythmic change that happens in the middle of part 1 is really cool, with a really nice bass line after that. Now, the build in part 2 is really, really awesome. I love the build that it has, but it felt like the build kind of went on for a little bit too long. And then when the build is complete and the whole band is there, whatever, the harsh vocals are like behind everything, and I'm thinking, where'd he go? Like, it felt way quieter for a bit, and I was really confused about that. Wasn't sure what was going on there. Suspire, loved that song. It just, the harsh vocals sounded great. I like the call and answer between harsh vocals and violin. Once again, that's another thing you usually see with harsh and clean, a call and answer, but does it with violin instead. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
The outro track, I actually loved. I thought it was a beautiful closer. Even if it is 5 minutes, that's okay. Like when it came on, I immediately thought, like, damn, it sounds like Radiohead wrote this or something. And I've been really into them lately, so hearing that and having that kind of just connect in my brain, I'm like, whoa, this is cool. But I do think it's a really, really nice closer, really pretty sounding, and a good way to just kind of just let all the energy go, because there's a lot that happens in this album. Like there's a lot going on from start to finish. So I think it's nice to have that. Does it need to be 5 minutes? I guess not.
3:42.
Okay, 3:42. I thought it was 5. Okay, no. Either way, does it need to be as long? Maybe not, but the length didn't really bother me. I thought I was okay with it. Overall, a pretty good album. You know, it wasn't really mind-blowing, but I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than I thought I would.
Cool. So next is Death Below by August Burns Red. Probably the biggest disappointment of the day for me, unfortunately. I've been a fan of this band for quite some time now. We've reviewed them on the channel before, given favorable reviews. We like their singles, their videos are awesome, all kinds of stuff, right? This album, though, it was very unstimulating for me. I don't quite know how to put it into words, but it feels like ABR songs are just all starting to sound the same to me. Like, formulaically, they've fallen in this really tight group where it's not necessarily bad. It's not bad by any means. It's still good music, but it's just starting to feel tired. It's starting to feel, okay, this is August Burns Red doing what August Burns Red does. And I feel like a few albums ago, they started experimenting a lot more with different elements in their music, and they're still doing that. But even that is now starting to feel tired to me. Like, that's now what they do. Here they go, trying something a little bit new, but it still sounds exactly like them.
Do you think they should start, like, trying stuff more heavily, as opposed to, like, okay, we're going to incorporate little bits of this, like, do a huge thing that's different?
That's a dangerous thing to do, because then you're possibly doing something like genre bending, which if you take an example like Haken's recent album, for example, that was something that they did quite frequently on that album, and I did not like that. So it's like,
I guess you don't have to go with like the genre route, but like, you know, maybe like include even more acoustics than Found in Faraway Places or something like of that magnitude. Like just do more experimentation than they have been. Is that what you think would like really help it for you?
I really don't even know. I corner myself in situations like this because I know I have an issue with it, but I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, and I don't have any suggestions on how to fix it. What's coming to my head is for them to just rhythmically try something different. But then I'll go and listen to it, and every song is different rhythmically, but they still all feel the same. So how could they be different but feel the same? There's something about it that makes it feel the same. So what is it? Is it the vocals? Maybe the vocals are just monotonous, and I'm just, you know, not feeling it. Maybe they need a little bit more range there. Maybe it's the riffing styles. It could be any factor. I really don't know what it is, but, and I'm not the only one to say this, ABR just does what ABR does, right? I've heard that phrase before. I've read it before. It's kind of a known thing. I want them to stop doing that. I want them to kind of not, I want them to surprise somebody. Surprise me, surprise somebody. That doesn't mean it's bad though. I still thought the album was decent. It's just, like I said, it was unstimulating for me. The best song for me was probably track number 4, Tightrope, and that was because of the solo. I thought it was, the solo in that song was pretty cool. The rest of it, I really don't even have notes for it because it all just kind of fell flat on its face for me.
You know, I was a bit worried coming into this album based on the singles. We reacted to, I think, all 3, didn't we? Yeah, we did. We did all 3. And Ancestry was, like, pretty neat. Backfire was like whatever, and the last one, which I believe was the last track on the album, Reckoning, that one was like, it started out like fine and then got good near the end. But so I was worried, but I think overall the album was actually pretty good. but still wasn't like amazing. For reference, I thought Guardians was an incredible album. This is not as good as that. This album is one of those albums where everything flows into each other perfectly, and on a first listen that's really hard to follow because you're not sure when a song starts and ends. And I feel like if you listen to the album more, obviously it gets better, and in some cases the transitions are pretty cool, but like the cleansing flows really nicely into Ancestry, but I really could not even tell. Like, oh, okay, this is where Ancestry started. Okay, cool. I still like that song. Ancestry was still pretty good. Tightrope, I think should have been a single. I think you should have replaced Backfire as a single with Tightrope. I think that would have got me more excited for the album.
I agree.
So, because just overall the song is cool. Jason Richardson is featured on it. He's a great guitar player. Like, that's awesome. Solo was sick. Like, that was just a great song. I wish that was a single.
Yeah.
Fool's Gold and the Bear Trap. I like that one as well. I like the kind of uneasy vibe and having things a bit more stripped down with that song. I thought that was cool. I almost kind of thought a new song started at the halfway point, which was a little bit weird, but the transition into Backfire was a good transition, but I was kind of thinking to myself, like, well, all the songs are doing this, but the build-up was still really nice. And then later in the album, like Revival and Dark Divide are two songs that I was listening to and thought, like, oh, these riffs are sick. And I look at August Burns Red as a riff-heavy band. You know, this is the kind of band, for me, that if it's a good album, it's because the riffs are good. And those two songs, great riffs. That's really the main note I had on them. Now, I do think there are some songs I could just do without, and that's kind of my main issue with this album, is that it's got a little bit of excess fat. This album is pushing a bit close to an hour long, and I think if you cut out some of the tracks, or maybe even shorten some of them, I think the album would definitely benefit a lot. So, I didn't dislike the album, I just felt like it could have been shorter.
Fair enough. So last but not least of the day is The Burden of Faith by Of Sulfur. So this is our third time covering Of Sulfur on the channel, because we reacted to two videos from this album. One of them being Befouler featuring Alex Terrible of Slaughter to Prevail. This song is so rad. Like, the more I listen to this, the better it gets. The chorus just hits in such a nice way.
Yep, I like the hook.
It's so hooky, so catchy, super solid. I feel like most people probably gravitate towards the breakdown of this song, but it's actually my least favorite part of the song. It's still good, but it's actually my least favorite part. I just want more of that chorus. But overall, great song, great feature from Alex. I felt like it was just really well done all around. This album, by the way, has a few different features on it. Features Taylor Barber from Left to Suffer. So this is a song that I expected more from, because of how much hype I see Taylor getting, you know, over around the internet and stuff like that. It wasn't bad by any means, still a great track. It just, I was a little underwhelmed because I looked at the track name and I went, okay, Unraveling featuring Taylor Barber. This is gonna be a fucking banger. So I might have went in with like a slightly higher expectation than maybe I should have, and I was left a little underwhelmed. But I'm pretty sure if I listen to it a couple more times, I might really go, okay, yeah, this slays. Like,
I feel like there's a lot going on in this album, so it's easy for stuff to kind of go by.
Yeah, exactly. Wide Open features Howard Jones of Killswitch Engage or Light the Torch, whatever. That song is okay. I feel like Howard's the weakest point of that song, unfortunately. Sorry if I rustled some feathers there. The last track, The Burden of Faith, features Kyle from Body Snatcher and also Lindsay Schoolcraft. Now, I'm not familiar enough with Ricky's voice or Kyle's voice to know who was singing which part, but Lindsay's voice is pretty clear because she's the only female there, and she adds a nice, fresh element to the song, which is very welcoming and very nice. But the highlight of this album for me, at least on my first impression, is track number 4, Death of Circumstance. Fuck, this song is awesome. The way it starts with the synth, and it just bleeds in from the previous track too.
Yeah.
So nice, super smooth transition. Layered, clean, and harsh vocals, giving you some really nice harmonies. Verses are super awesome. The synth adds some really nice flavor in this song. And then the bridge has some really nice cleans from Ricky, followed by an amazing solo. This song basically is a full package, has everything you want. I was really, really into this album. I thought there was a lot going for it, and I think there's still a lot to unpack. Ricky sounds great mixture of deathcore vocals mixed with cleans as well. It's just, there was a lot of really cool stuff happening here.
Yeah, speaking of that, I think this is a band that is definitely pushing the envelope for deathcore, and I think I'd like to see more bands do that. I think Clean Vocals is pretty untapped territory. The only band that I know of that's been doing this in deathcore before of Sulfur is Whitechapel. That's it, though. Whitechapel did it great. These guys are doing it good, too. Speaking about Death of Circumstance, the transition into this song is great. It flows, like, straight ahead, but it builds up properly enough that you can tell when the song starts, when the other one ends.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, we like I mentioned for the ABR album, some of them I couldn't tell. This I could definitely tell, and that's how you know you've done it properly. Is when you can, on the first listen, tell when the song starts,
even though it's seamless.
Exactly. Befouler, once again, great hook. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Earthen was the first single that we checked out from this album, and I loved it back then. The video was fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the song now. In the middle of the album, the despair, I think I said this in the music video reaction too, the despair you feel from this song is so heavy. Loved it. The song went straight into my playlist. I loved it. Hearing it again, I thought, oh my god, this is incredible. A Path to Salvation is a strange interlude. Kind of feels like a fake start to I Apostate, but I Apostate's a pretty neat song. When it hits hard, it's pretty cool. Like I like that, and I'd like to listen to that some more to get more of a perspective on it. I thought Howard Jones sounded good on Wide Open. I know you didn't, but I thought it works out for how the melodies work on this album. You know, how they're always kind of like walking down the minor scale. I think Howard's vocals work for that, given what we've heard from him in the past. And I like that. One thing I thought kind of weird, the title track, the hook in that sounds like the hook to Wide Open, and I don't know if there's a connection between those songs or what was really going on there, but I'm listening to the title track, I'm thinking, I've heard this melody already. Where did I hear this before? I'm like, did I just hear it on like another track? I thought that was a little bit strange, but I still enjoyed it. Like, it was a good closer. And overall, I did enjoy this album. I'm curious as to how much of a roller coaster it really is. Because like I said, this band is doing stuff with clean vocals, stuff that's not experimented enough with in deathcore. So I'm curious as to how much of like an up and down roller coaster it really feels like. Because I felt like at times it's like, okay, this is deathcore doing deathcore, but then you get this hook and it's like, oh wow, he's got a really pretty sounding voice. You know, and you get that really back and forth, and I really do like that kind of roller coaster action on albums.
Yeah, so we thought we had this week figured out. We kind of had a plan in place for a
multiple
while now.
times.
We thought,
multiple
okay,
times.
We're gonna do this album on this week or this album this week,
and then something else. Like, oh no!
And then all of a sudden we find Of Sulfur's dropping their album today, and we're like, we listen to it, and we're looking at it going, this is the one.
Yeah,
this is gonna be the one because we feel like we out of all the 4 albums we enjoyed it the most on our first listen, and 2, we also feel like it has the most to unpack. It has the most kind of unique, different stuff that we can draw from and, you know, gain opinions to give you guys a full and comprehensive review next week. So that's what's going to happen, guys. Of Sulfur, The Burden of Faith is the album we're doing. So we'll be back next week to give you guys a full and final review of that album. Be sure to come back and check for that. For now, leave your thoughts down below. Let us know what you guys think of all these new releases and whether you agree with us or not, all that fun stuff. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm Lyle Self.
I'm TV Fish.
We'll see you guys on the next one.